All right, everybody, we are live. Welcome to Frightmare HQ on this beautiful afternoon. I am joined today by two amazing people. The always lovely Charles Doze in your upper left corner. And
That's
right
me.
below Charles is the amazing FX legend and author Steve Johnson. How you doing, Steve?
Yes.
I'm doing good on this lovely Saturday afternoon. It's only noon here in Los Angeles.
Yes,
Well,
it
that's
is.
good.
That is true. That is true. And we have to account for time differences.
Yeah, I'm actually getting out today. I'm going to Malibu. I'm going to the beach. Like it's like this lockdown thing. We had the lockdown, and then they let it go, and now we're back in lockdown. But at some point you got to say, I'm going to the beach.
Hey, lucky you, man.
You're like, I'm done. I'm leaving.
Have fun for all of us, okay?
Please.
So I have one big major question to kick off the show. This is huge.
Uh-oh.
Huge. I am a big Humanoids from the Deep fan.
Yeah.
And I understand that you were a humanoid. Is that correct?
It's funny that you mentioned that because I just did an interview 2 days ago for a documentary, part two of In Search of Darkness. It's about 80s films, and so I did a little bit of shtick on Humanoids from the Deep. Humanoids from the Deep, yeah. They actually remade it. That was really a fun project. I did that with Rob Bottin. I was working for him. I'd already done a few projects with him. It was before The Howling, but it was after Tanya's Island, that softcore kind of porn thing.
Oh, I know Tanya's Island. Yes.
Don't we all?
Prince's girlfriend, Vanity Starland. She was the first girl I've ever seen naked in the flesh. And she would just walk around naked in the makeup trailer while we were shooting F the Ape. It was like, okay then, Prince's girlfriend, and she's naked. This is great. But yeah, by the time, I think Humanoids was the next project. And I actually was a humanoid from the deep. Not just one humanoid. Barbara Peters, the director, loved the way I took squib hits, explosive bullet hits. She liked the way I died in a humanoid suit. So every time in that movie that you see a humanoid get shot, it's me.
Is that right?
That's crazy.
That's one of those movies that I rented as a kid, and believe it or not, I rented it on Betamax, and I've been in love with it ever since. So I had to start
I
off
should revisit that. I have not seen that movie since it was made.
Yeah.
Wow.
So we could do a whole show on the behind the scenes on Humanoids from the Deep. But I think we have other things.
We do have other
Lloyd would
things.
love that.
I don't know, perhaps a little book called Rubberhead Volume 2. I don't know.
Too.
Well, we have that on the screen in the lower right. Everybody can see the cover right now. By the way, everybody, this book is available through AM Inc., and I've got the link up on the screen as well. AMIncpublishing.com/Rubberhead. So
Yeah.
this is volume 2. You started.
Let me elaborate on that just a little bit. The publisher, I spoke with Michael Aloisi yesterday, and I think it's a little bit easier to go to darkinkbooks.com. It'll take you straight to the page.
Okay.
Darkinkbooks.com.
Something else. Michael and I, the publisher, came up with a wonderful publicity stunt for today's show. How long will the show last?
Oh.
As long as you want it to. We usually go about an hour, but we can stay as long as you like.
Well, what we're going to do here, let me just be really clear here on how and where people order and what's going on. You can pre-order this book on Amazon, but if you pre-order the book from darkinkbooks.com during this show, Michael has agreed to give 10% off the price.
Wow.
Awesome.
For the first 50 people that order, 10% off the price. And the thing that's so cool about that is that is actually that one is signed. If you get from Amazon, it won't be signed. So you're really getting more than 10% off. So
Yeah.
if you go to darkinkbooks.com, you can order the soft cover and the hardcover there. Now, let me also just say that the audiobook and the ebook you can only get on Amazon. Now, we're talking about volume 2 here, but volume 1 you can still order from darkinkbooks.com. You can also get that on Amazon.
That is
That's awesome. I did read part 1 and definitely looking forward to part 2 because Steve is so crazy, guys. It couldn't be contained to one book. We needed 2 books. There's a lot of good stuff
no,
going on here.
I don't know if you know this, and let me just say this too. It's 5 volumes. I'm during.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, no, and they're all written. They're all, they're not designed and laid out yet, but they're all written. And I'm working on. I'm editing volume 3 right now.
So we just have to wait for that.
You have to wait.
You gotta wait. Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
fine.
I feel like we need a Netflix series on Steve's life, the whole life.
Hey, you know what? Actually, it's funny that you mentioned that because I was just talking to my producer literally right before. There is indeed a documentary being made called Rubberhead: Sex, Drugs, and Space.
Oh, wow.
Oh, that's awesome.
I just saw he's sending me edited pieces every few days, and literally this morning, right before we got on the phone, I just saw the piece on my experience with H.R. Giger on the 3 movies I worked with him on, starting with Poltergeist 2 and then Species and Species 2. And it's really, really, really good. So there's going to be Rubberhead coming out of your ears for the next few years.
So what is, for those uninitiated and that don't know, tell us what Rubberhead actually is. Tell us what these books are about.
Yeah, Rubberhead, like my own personality and like my work, is kind of hard to define because it's not a coffee table book. It's not just an art book. So many people, Rick Baker just came out with his books. Tom Savini's done several very popular books. There's, which you can also get at Dark King, his newest one. But so many people have done books, and they're either how-to books or they're very straightforward art books. And I've always thought, because I wanted to do this for a long time, because I've got exhaustive archives and so many photographs and designs over my almost 40-year career, that I almost feel like it's a responsibility to share it to future generations, right? But I always thought, I don't want to just do the same thing everyone else is doing. I kept thinking to myself in the years that this idea was gestating, I've got to do something different. So what is different about Rubberhead is that it's really a memoir. It's a memoir and an art book. It's kind of half and half. So the writing part is really my favorite part because I know what all the monsters look like. I know how I made them. But, the audience wants to see that stuff. It's like, you got to include that. It's like if you go see Elton John in concert, you don't want to hear his new music. You want to hear him play, his greatest hits, right?
Right.
So I had to give the photos. So it's, there's at least 400 full color photos in each book. But there's also a story. There's a really cool story. And the thing that's really interesting about it to me, and I hope the audience, is that it doesn't start chronologically like it all started on a snowy day in February in 1960 and then, go through my childhood and blah, blah, blah. Who gives a fuck? No, I got Keith Richards' memoir, Life. I can't read it because who cares what Keith Richards did when he was a kid? Nobody cares. You want the drugs. You want the sex. You want the rock and roll. So, so what I did with this is it happens in present tense, and it's as if you're a fly on the wall during each of these scenes. When I'm meeting with John Carpenter on Big Trouble in China, and we have a huge fight. It's present tense. You're right there, and it just hops around. I got this idea actually from Don Rickles, believe it or not. Wonderful man. I love Don. I worked with him on that John Landis film, Innocent Blood. We turned him into a vampire and then deteriorated and went.
Yeah.
Nitroglycerin. But when I read his memoir, he didn't do that either. He just said, "Okay, look, I'm just going to write about the most interesting, most amazing things that have ever happened to me." So I boiled it down to the biggest stars I've worked with, the funniest stories, the most outrageous stories, the biggest movies, the biggest directors, and hence 5 volumes because I've done hundreds of films in my career and. It's really, really tough to edit it down. So it's you get 2 for 1 with this book. You get a really fun story, and you get all the photos as well. So even if you're illiterate, you can enjoy the book.
So it's kind of like a mix between the Motley Crue book and a memoir of your special effects.
Pretty much, yeah.
Pretty much, yeah.
Steve's done so much, Lloyd. It's hard to ask him questions about a specific movie because there's dozens. I could say one of my favorites you did is Night of the Demons. Always one of my favorites is Night of the Demons. Always terrified me. And I have to thank you for that because it also terrifies my wife to this day. We put that movie on. So thank you for that, Steve.
Well, you're very welcome. And the thing that's funny about that movie is I'd come off of doing all of these huge movies at Boss Film, Ghostbusters, Big Trouble in Little China, Fright Night, all of these things. And before that, I'd worked on all these huge movies with Rick Baker, Rob Bottin, and Greg Kinnear. American Werewolf, Videodrome, The Howling, all of this stuff. So when I opened my own company, Night of the Demons was the first movie I did. And Night of the Demons comes out, the stories and the photos for Night of the Demons will be in volume 3. Actually, they're not in volume 2 or 1. But, it was, I thought I would just, my next big project would be The Witches of Eastwick, which I did bid on. But all the producers were like, who is this kid? He's been working for Rick Baker, Stan Winston, Richard Edlund of Boss Film. And we don't know if he can do this. We don't know if he just swept the floors at those places. So I basically had to start all over from the ground up when I opened my company. And the first film was Night of the Demons, very low budget film. But that didn't bug me. I just said, you know what? I'm going to do the absolute best work I can. I'm going to put every nickel back up on screen. And I look back at it now, and it's so campy. It is, and that's what actually makes it cool.
Yeah.
But for all of these decades since it's come out, I've actually been a little bit embarrassed by it. But there's this huge cult following, and I recently rewatched it. There was a screening of it a couple of years ago, and all the actors and Kevin Tenney, the director, were there. And the thing is, I can't remember the guy's name that shot it, David someone. But it's so beautifully shot. And, I'm so close to these things when I do them that I get desensitized to them. And so people say this is a scary movie, and I think it's just a silly movie. But, man, some of those shots of Angela floating down the hall, the way it's lit, it's pretty goddamn creepy. So I get it. Finally, It took me 30 years to see why it would scare people, because I just thought it was like, hey, look at Linnea Quigley's tits.
Well, are you kind
That's
of
what a lot
like
of people did.
Are you kind of like some of the actors where they say they can't watch their work? Is it hard for you to look at your work on screen, or?
It is. I can give you so many examples. I'm never, ever, ever pleased because, and all artists, I think, are constantly reaching for perfection, and you can never reach it. It's an impossible goal. So I'm my own worst critic. So when I saw Nightmare on Elm Street 4, for example, where we did Freddy's death and all the souls are coming out of his chest, I was embarrassed by it. I started getting all this publicity, and people were saying, this is the most amazing thing I've ever seen. And I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm embarrassed by it. I'm never going to work again. And then when I did the Aliens for The Abyss, the James Cameron film, I thought, oh, they're all clicky and they look horrible. Everyone's like, wow, these are so cool. How the hell did you do that? Yeah, no, I just never, ever, ever, I don't know. I mean, I always want my best work to be the thing I haven't done.
Sure.
I want to be the next project. So
You're a perfectionist. We can appreciate that.
Yeah.
Well, that's part of being a special effects artist. We've been lucky enough to host quite a few effects artists at the show, and you remind me. I mean, all of you kind of have that same personality, that personality type, that perfectionist thing, the analytic part of you. So, like you remind me a lot of Savini as well. I mean, you both kind of have that, that personality. So. And I love Savini, by the way. Was one of my childhood heroes, so that is a compliment.
Yeah, no, Tom has always had a very different approach to makeup effects, and to those of us in the know that he always treated it a little bit more like a magician would treat magic, and he brought that whole kind of aspect into makeup effects that people weren't doing. I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that he grew up on the East Coast, and he was working on the East Coast. Further away from Hollywood and Los Angeles, where all of us were huddled together, sharing the same ideas, rehashing the same techniques, and Tom was on his own, and he came up with some brilliant stuff.
Yeah. Well, speaking of brilliant stuff, I'm going to put a picture up of you sculpting Slimer. I'm sure that is that one of your biggest pop culture, biggest moments for you, or?
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that, because no one ever asked about Ghostbusters or Slimer.
Nobody ever?
I'm sure that is every time.
They're gonna wheel me out in a wheelchair when I'm 100 years old and say, how did you make Slimer?
How did you make Slimer? I had to avoid saying something because, as Lloyd knows, I've got a leg full of Ghostbusters tattoos. So I'm like, I'm not even going to talk about Ghostbusters to him.
My favorite Ghostbusters tattoo I've ever seen, and I hate to say this, I don't know how to say this reasonably without being offensive. A very heavy set guy, incredibly morbidly heavy set. I was at a convention once, and he's in line for an autograph or something, and he comes up to me and lifts his shirt up, and he's got this huge belly, and I'm telling you, his entire belly, his entire chest, from his nipples to his belt line, were tattooed with Slimer's face with a big smile, and he just started wiggling it around like this, and it looked like Slimer in the movie. It was the coolest thing.
That's amazing.
It was both terrifying and cool.
But let's have a look at your tattoo. Let's have a look.
Oh Lord, it's
your
kind of
leg?
hard to get them up here. Yeah, here. Oh, I got the. Can you see them at all? Look,
Yeah.
I'm stretching for you. Boom.
Oh, there you go. What's the one on the top? I can't tell the one on the top.
Well, this one's from Back to the Future.
Oh, okay.
So then I got the logo
and you got the
and
logo.
Stay Puft Man.
Cool.
Yeah. So
Ghostbusters is covered in detail in Volume 1, actually. And don't forget, guys, you guys that are watching, Michael Aloisi, Dark Ink Publishing, because we sold out pretty quickly the first volume of Rubberhead, the first printing. And now Michael is making it available in a second printing that you can pick up on his website, Dark Ink Publishing. And also, don't forget, the first 50 people that order, you're going to get order from Dark Ink Books. I'm sorry, darkinkbooks.com.
Dark Ink Books, guys.
10% off, and that one is signed. That's Rubberhead 2.
Okay, and they can do that right now during the show only.
Oh, you know what? I forgot the most important thing. Fuck.
Yeah.
You've got to use a code. The code is Rubberhead.
Perfect. That's what that was my next
cool.
question.
darkinkbooks.com, code Rubberhead, 10% off. You can't beat that, and it's signed. It's
awesome.
It's pre-ordered.
Perfect.
Oh, that's cool.
So while we're talking about that, let's go ahead and roll. You have a video. It's kind of like a trailer for the book. Let's go ahead. Do you want to tell us a little bit about this before we start it?
Yeah, there's really not that much to tell because we launched Rubberhead Volume 1 on Kickstarter. We also did the same thing on Volume 2. This is just one of those publicity things you do. So on the Kickstarter site, the page for Rubberhead 2, this is what you get when you go there to see what the book's all about. And it's a little nuts. So 3, 2, 1, action. Hey guys, guess what? It's time for Rubberhead Volume 2. Oh my God, remember Volume 1? Huh? Fuck Volume 1. It's not more sex. It's got more drugs. It's got more blood, more laughter, more tears. It's really got everything in it. It's got Fright Night, Big Trouble in Little China, Poltergeist 2, so many projects, Species 2, The Village, M. Night Shyamalan, Cat in the Hat, unfortunately. No volume of Rubberhead would be complete without the ones that got away section, because we always end up getting fired, or another company gets awarded the contract, or the movie never gets made. It's Joe Dante's The Jetsons. We were gonna do some amazing stuff on that film, animatronic stuff that would have fucking melted history. Here's a good one. Tim Burton, Superman Lives. We're gonna dive deep into that one. I love Dr. Moreau, Richard Stanley. You should see what we did. Clive Barker had a mummy project in the works. Jesus Christ, can you imagine? Iron Man. We worked on Iron Man forever after Spider-Man 2, and guess who got the contract? God damn it, not us. Well, in all seriousness, I actually feel like it's my responsibility to document the glory days of makeup effects in the early 80s and 90s, because how else are the kids going to know, the future generations of makeup effects people, what it was really like to be working in the trenches back then when rubber ruled. And there's actually a 20-page graphic novel, honest to God graphic novel included in this book. Me as a superhero fighting the good fight for practical effects. We're actually working with Chet Zar this time, and Chet Zar's people, the people that did his Black Magic book. It's an amazing book. He's one of the greatest dark artists ever. Guess what? I almost forgot to tell you. Chet is painting the cover. That's right, guys. Rubberhead Volume 2 coming soon from Dark Ink Publishing. Let's potty.
All right, everybody. So there's the trailer/video for Rubberhead 2. Don't forget, head over to darkinkbooks.com right now, and you get 10% off the super duper signed edition with the code Rubberhead. Is that correct?
That is correct, and I'm just hearing from Michael Aloisi, the producer, and they're going like hotcakes, and we've only got another hour. we've only got another hour or so. So you guys, we're gonna cut this deal at the end of this broadcast. So,
Very
Dark
nice.
Books.
That is awesome.
So one of the movies you worked on, Big Trouble in Little China. I understand you and Carpenter didn't get along as much, right?
Hold that thought real quick before I forget. Let me just say that the thing about Rubberhead Volume 1, which again you can get from Dark King Books, because Michael's been so nice to do a second printing on it, is that it kind of tells my whole story, my whole kind of crazy Hollywood story from the start to the end. Because I felt like that was what had to be told in the beginning. So people were like, what the hell? Let's tell this story first, and then we'll go into more detail on the other films. So, but the thing about Rubberhead Volume 2 is it actually focuses on the greatest hits of the 80s, because I was involved in a lot of films from the 80s that have become absolute classics. So Big Trouble has My Failed Predator, which I hope you don't ask about, but a lot of people love that story. It's pretty funny, because I made the Predator for Jean-Claude Van Damme to wear in the very first incarnation of that film. But it also has Fright Night. It has Poltergeist 2. It has Big Trouble in Little China. It's got all the greatest hits of the 80s. So it's kind of timely right now. So if you're really interested in that kind of stuff, that's Volume 2.
Okay, I've got the picture of Fright Night up with Chris drinking from a cup from a straw.
Yes, as vampires love to do. I thought that was a funny shot. But you had a question about what movie were you starting to talk about?
Well, I was talking about Big Trouble in Little China, as you touched on briefly, and I understand that you and Carpenter didn't get along as good in that movie as some people. Is that true?
It is absolutely true, and there's a life lesson and a film industry lesson to be learned about that, because, Carpenter had worked with, obviously, Rob Bottin on The Thing, the greatest makeup effects ever done to date, probably never will be surpassed. He worked with Dick Smith and Rick Baker on Starman, absolutely amazing stuff. And so the next film was Big Trouble in Little China, and I'm a young kid, I'm 22 years old, I'm like, oh boy, this is my chance to show Dick Smith, Rick Baker, Rob Bottin, and the world, and John Carpenter, that I'm as good as them. I'm going to kick ass on this film and do all these amazing things. But what happened was John didn't want to hear it. I wanted to overcomplicate things. I wanted to, beat my chest and go, I'm the greatest effects artist ever. But, that costs money and it takes time. And John wanted to do things very simply. And what I didn't understand was that I didn't understand the movie. Because when you read a script like Ghostbusters, or you read a script like Big Trouble in Little China, you don't really get the director's vision, and you certainly don't get how the performers are going to play it. For instance, in Ghostbusters, I read it, it was very flat, because I couldn't hear the intonations of Bill Murray and Dan Aykroyd, and they brought so much to it in their ad-libbing. It made it a different movie than it read in the script. So I read the script and I thought, this is going to be a complete disaster. Shows how much I knew when I was young, a young whippersnapper. Same thing with Big Trouble. You don't know that Kurt Russell is going to play it like some sideways John Wayne character. You don't know that Kim Cattrall is going to do it the way she did. And you don't know that John Carpenter is going to direct it the way he did. And so I was taking it in the approach to the effects and the character design, a little bit more seriously. Don't smoke, kids. But when you find, and so John and I were at odds the entire time. We were at odds because I didn't want Dick Smith and Rick Baker and Rob Bottin to go to the screening at the opening of Big Trouble in Little China and throw Rotten Tomatoes at the screen, thinking Steve Johnson's an asshole. And John kept pushing me into this very overblown, very cartoony approach to these characters. You even look at James Hong as David Lopan. That makeup is very overblown and very cartoony. And the lesson to be learned here is a very hard one that I've battled with my entire career, and that's this: the director is always right. Don't fight him. He knows a lot more than you do about what he wants, and it's not your movie. But you got to remember that back in the 80s, the early 80s in particular, and throughout almost that whole decade, we thought we were rock stars. We thought we could usurp the directors and the producers and the writers' ideas, because in a lot of cases, people came to see these movies because of the FX person's name.
Yeah.
So, we were trying to prove something. And it was a very interesting time. So yeah, John and I, no, I don't think he likes me to this day, and particularly because I've been so vocal about us fighting and butting heads, and all these interviews.
I'm sure.
Sorry, John.
I'm sure that's got to be hard though, because like you said, director's always right, but I'm sure there's times you can see something and go, God, I can make this so much better, but you have to bite your tongue.
Well,
exactly. I just wanted to move on, take one, cut, move on. And I'm like, John, we worked 6 months on this. It cost $200,000. Give me another take. Nope, good enough for me.
But you guys were rock stars at the time. I mean,
Yeah.
TV shows, they were all about the effects. Everybody wanted to talk about the effects. I mean, Savini was making guest appearances on Letterman back then. You know, it was a huge deal. So, you know, you kind of see where you're coming from with that.
Yeah. It was a crazy time. And look what's happened now. Now the visual effects people have kind of taken over that place. But not really, because I mean, I'd be hard pressed, and I don't know if you could either, to name one digital effects artist's name.
Yeah, they're not rock stars, are they?
Everybody knew Rick Baker and Dick Smith, you know, and Rob Bottin.
Mm-hmm. I mean, they're all programmers. I guess talking about digital effects, is there ever times you see movies nowadays that have digital effects, and you think to yourself, this would be so much better if it was practical effects?
No, I mean, I think that, you know, I will tell you this, you know, back when Jurassic Park came out, you know, Phil Tippett, the amazing stop motion animator, was hired to do the dinosaurs with a process that he called go motion, where he would actually expose a frame of film and do a motion blur on it, which made the stop motion look so much more realistic than Ray Harryhausen's old stuff, which, you know, kind of had a sense of unreality, because when you move and you expose 24 frames a second, there's a blur on those frames. So Phil figured out a way to move the puppet during the exposure of each frame so that it would blur. So that's how the original dinosaurs were going to be done in Jurassic Park in the first film. And Phil did some amazing tests on it, but then ILM came to Steven Spielberg and said, we think we can pull this off digitally. And no one had ever done it before. And but Spielberg said, here, let's do a test on it. And so ultimately, the stuff was obviously all done digitally, except for Stan Winston's beautiful animatronic work. But, you know, when everybody saw that, we're like, oh, that's the nail in the coffin. Nobody's going to ever do a practical effect again. Because what happened is there was this kind of sea change, and all the young directors and the young producers and the young writers, they wanted that catchphrase, and they were young and they didn't even know what digital meant. But you go into a meeting and they're like, and we'll do it digitally. And they had no idea what that even meant. They were just doing it because they had a new thing to do. And so a lot of wrong decisions were made. The tables have turned now 360 degrees, because now all the young writers, producers, and directors grew up on the films that I made, and so many of us made in the 80s and 90s, and they want to bring that sensibility back to the film industry. And so they come in and they go, we'll do it all practically. And even that's not the right decision. You know, yeah. I mean, doing it all digitally, doing it all practically. People like Tim Burton and Guillermo del Toro very famously know how to blend these techniques. So, you know, it's a long conversation, but, you know, an animatronic character will never be able to smile as honestly as a digital character. It certainly can't run and jump. And so there's a place for everything.
Yeah, I totally agree, and it's good to see that that's coming back. You know, the younger generation does seem that's what they want to see. They want to see practical effects, but you know, there's a way to blend that stuff that you know, looks right and makes it even better, I think. So,
well, I mean, it's a stylistic choice at this point. You know, just like if you want to do something with traditional stop motion, that has a very specific look, and it's a stylistic choice. And you see a lot of those films being made these days, and they're very popular. You know, so using practical effects a lot of times is a stylistic choice.
Just a reminder to anyone that's just now joining us, make sure to go to darkinkbooks.com, and during this show only, you can use code Rubberhead at checkout, and you'll get 10% off of Steve's new book, Rubberhead Volume 2.
And they're signed.
And they're signed, right?
All of these pictures. It's loaded. Like I said, it's both a memoir.
Look at that.
And
that looks like Bicentennial Man.
That was Bicentennial Man. Tortured Robert in it. Yeah, there's one thing that's interesting about this volume. Let me try and find it real quick. Yeah, there actually is an honest to God 20-page graphic novel stuck in the middle of it called Rubberhead. That's me. That's me as I'm fighting the good fight for practical effects there, and it goes on and on and on. It's actually quite fun, but it's a whole graphic novel.
Wow.
Yeah, these books are weird. These books are really weird. And don't forget, if you're new to the Rubberhead kind of shtick, you can still get Rubberhead Volume 1 as well.
Okay.
Inkbooks.com.
So
very nice.
Got the audiobook. The people love the audiobook. I've not recorded the audiobook for Volume 2 yet, but the audiobook for Volume 1 is very funny. I go off script a lot. You can get that from publishing. I go off script a lot because I think I might have been a little high when I did it.
Yeah, I was going to ask if you were going to read the second book. I was going to ask if you were going to do the second book for audio too. So
did you hear the first one?
Yeah, you kind of went some places in that one. It's fun. It's fun to listen to.
It is fun. The thing, I couldn't help myself because each one of these recording sessions we did like 6 of them, 4 hours long because you go back. The whole, I think the audiobook for Volume 1 is like 6.5 hours, but to get that you got to record for 24 hours. And so I just at some point decided to entertain myself and go off script. It's still the book, but occasionally, like if I was trying to be nice to people in the written word, and I'll just bust them in the audio book. I'm like, this is really this.
Yeah.
That's the kind of thing that makes it fun,
Yep.
I think anybody else would have probably edited that out, but you left it in, and it makes it fun. So,
I can't wait to do the audiobook for Volume 2.
I can't wait for it either.
I've got to bring up something. I've got to bring up Superman, which you had a chance to work on. The effects and stuff. Is that
one that's in Volume 1, isn't it? Or is it
I believe so. I've got a picture up of the chest symbol, and it looks chrome silver.
Yeah.
So, tell us a little bit about that. That's a very, very intriguing subject that a lot of people are interested in.
Yeah, well, Tim Burton came to me when he was doing his version of Superman starring Nick Cage. And it was, of course, Tim Burton, and so Tim Burton is going to be Tim Burton. And so his approach to this film, which I found to be really, really unique and really interesting, which not a lot of people usually think about when they focus on the Superman lore, is that, hello, Superman is a goddamn alien. He's an alien, and he's also an orphan, and he's alone on this planet, and nobody else is like him. There's all these very, Tim Burton motifs, and so it was a really good fit for a Tim Burton film. And so he came to me, and actually they came to 3 different companies, and they said, look, this is what we want to do. We're going to give each of you a certain amount of money in a certain amount of time. We want you to make a few test arms. And at the end of this period of testing, we'll see whose arm we like the best. We'll hire you to make the suit. But it wasn't the Superman suit that you expect to see. I got so much flack online. What it is it's a regeneration suit. He dies, and this kind of alien thing. I'm not a big Superman fan anymore. I was when I was a kid, but this thing is what he wears to bring him back to life. And so we lit it with laser-lit fiber optics. It's translucent. It's got iridescence like a beetle. It slides over itself. It's really cool. We used a lot of the techniques that we came with on The Abyss, actually, for James Cameron on this suit. And somehow a lot of that footage got leaked online, and everybody's like, has Steve Johnson finally lost it? He's got this disco light-up suit on Nick Cage. Nick Cage has long hair. This isn't Superman. People were angry, actually angry at me about it. It's like, I didn't have a script. I just got paid to make this. And then, of course, a few fittings on Nick, hundreds of thousands of dollars later, the studio pulled the plug on it. And so the only thing that you can, I would highly recommend this. So one of my good friends directed a movie called Superman Lives, What Happened? You guys familiar with that?
Yes.
Yeah, the documentary on the film.
I've seen it, yes.
Yeah. What's the name of it? Is that it? Superman Lives?
Superman Lives, yeah.
What happened? I think.
Yeah, the death of Superman Lives, what happened, yeah. Yeah,
it tells the whole story and, of why it fell apart. But it shows all the test footage, it shows all the designs we did, because we didn't just we weren't just contracted to do the Superman suit. we had Brainiac's spaceship that was a menagerie. And so we were going to make something like, it would have put the Star Wars Cantina sequence to shame. We had puppets and hybrids and makeups. And so we designed hundreds of crazy aliens for that. So that was a big depressing loss when it came, had the plug pulled on it. But yeah, that one again, I think, damn it, let me check.
I think it's in Volume 2. In Volume 2, you go into a lot of your other stuff that you, the missed project section, I think it's going to be in there. And that's really cool for you to cover because I'm sure those have a lot of sore memories. You put a lot of work into that stuff and they're like, all right, Steve, get out of here. You're like, I don't want to.
I've had more. This is why each volume of Rubberhead has the section called The Ones That Got Away, because I spent more time, more money on huge projects. The Hulk, the Alan Hurd's Hulk, we made a huge animatronic. We had a giant 30-foot tall bug sculptures. We went so far on these projects, and then the plug got pulled on so many of them. Curious George, Clive Barker's The Mummy. So each one of these books has a section called The Ones That Got Away in it. And you're saying Superman is in Volume 2?
I think so.
Yeah, no, I think
it's.
I think you might
I believe
have.
it's
I don't know
Volume 2.
about Volume 1, but I believe it is Volume 2.
Here, I can just check in the table of contents.
The fancy dancy
I think you
index page.
Yeah. Yeah, I know there's some other ones. I was always hoping that Joe Dante's Jetsons would have taken off because that seemed like it would be a lot of fun.
Well, that one's in Volume
A lot of
2.
fun.
That one's in Volume 2 as well, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, Joe Dante was doing a full-on animatronic Jetsons, and again, so many robots, so many crazy, like retro, really. Oh my God, we would have redefined what is possible with animatronics in that film. It's so cool, and we worked. You'll see that these designs in Volume 2, as well as Superman, really cool stuff. And so that's why I thought people should be able to see this stuff. And the Island of Dr. Moreau. It's crazy that when Richard Stanley was directing that. Again, Volume 2. You need to go over to darkinkbooks.com and pick it up. You get 10% off. 10% off as long as the show is airing. Use the code Rubberhead. Audiobook, ebook available on Amazon. This is pre-ordering, by the way, but you can still get Rubberhead Volume 1 from the same places.
And these are limited signed editions, right? That we're talking about.
They will not be signed if you order from Amazon. They will be if you order from darkinkbooks.com.
Nice.
Right, to get the
you're getting a huge deal. If you
get the
order
discount.
this broadcast, you're going to get 10% off, and it's going to be signed.
That's
That's
awesome.
awesome, guys.
It's a huge deal. Nobody's making any money on it. We're just doing it for publicity. It's costing us.
We've already got M. Petrie 7 says ordered, and Marie Sue 27 says ordered also.
Hopefully you guys are seeing some. So, Steve, a lot of these projects you worked on that went away, Jetsons, Superman Lives, did you keep anything from these, or did you just kind of chuck it all in the trash and move on?
It's funny that you mention that. Hang on.
Uh-oh. You asked the right question, Charles.
Oh, I got questions. I love props.
He's
No,
got stuff.
I have actually, Nick Cage is here, and he's suiting up in that laser suit in my bedroom. I'll bring him out.
Does he still have the long flowing hair, or?
No, the thing is, I didn't, when I had a warehouse, a huge, 10,000 square foot warehouse that was filled with robots and aliens and superheroes and monsters from my entire career. And at some point, what I would do is that, I knew that this was going to be an expense to store this stuff over the years, over the decades, right? Mm-hmm. And so I'd always put it into my contract that production pays for storage for up to a year. In case they want to come back to it, we shoot that way. But then, the emphasis went on me just to pay for the storage. So, no, I auctioned everything off. But what's funny, I auctioned everything off over a period of years, a long time ago. What's funny is someone bought one of the 10,000 frogs we made from Magnolia and sent it to me.
Oh, wow.
That's awesome.
Hi, kids.
That's such a great scene in Magnolia.
I gotta put this away because every time I get this frog out, my cat goes crazy and tries to eat it.
I think we have a few.
You
of
saw
those.
your cat
Looks
earlier.
like a bullfrog from around our area is what that looks like.
Does it?
Yeah.
Yeah, we made 10,000 of these. The Magnolia story is in Volume 1. Actually, Magnolia is
that's-
my favorite movie I've ever worked on, in case you care.
Magnolia is.
Not a horror movie at all, but we did so much work on it. Literally 10,000 frogs. There's a raining frog sequence, this biblical kind of thing. But we made animatronic ones that were dying and heaving. We had to have them specifically get wind chills. There's a lot more work in that project than you think. And it was so difficult to figure out who was going to do what, meaning how was the split going to be done, digital versus practical. And originally we wanted to do everything practically, and so the special effects company made these giant conveyor belts with these kind of like machines on the top that were set up on cranes like 100 feet in the air, that as the frogs, I'd have a whole bunch of people dumping buckets of frogs on the conveyor belt. They would go up, and this hopper device would just scatter frogs throughout the sky, and we had rain machines too, and then frogs would literally rain from the sky. The problem with it was take two. Because you got to have, how long does it take to pick up 10,000 frogs and put them on the conveyor belt?
That's such a great scene, though.
I want to mention that Todd Lewis is watching, and he said he also ordered Volume 1 because the code worked on that edition as well. So he ordered both books.
Oh, cool.
Thank you, Todd.
Oh, excellent. Well, so then we're going to actually be losing even more money. This is great.
Yeah, let's lose more money.
Take advantage.
We're going to lose all the money.
Take advantage of this now. Everything Rubberhead evidently is 10% off for the duration of this show.
One of our UK viewers said, unfortunately, the shipping to the UK is more than the book, so I'll have to buy it from Amazon in the UK. But that's the way it is right now, especially right now. The post office and everything is so messed up.
Don't even get me started with that. I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Well, it's always been, it's interesting to hear because the shipping to Europe, Japan, Australia has always been at least as much as the cost of the book, which is kind of a bargain if you look at Rick Baker's books going around $100 a pop. But now to hear that it costs more really sucks. But before the pandemic, I was occasionally, going over to Ireland, doing classes, going to Belgium, going to London, doing conventions, and I would always bring over books, and, in my luggage, which was cheaper than mailing them. So let's hope that I can start traveling again, and I can bring some over in person.
There you go.
Hey, give me 1 second. Let me just refresh my beverage.
Oh, go ahead. There's his mask in the background, Charlie.
Where he's got his mask. He knows what's up.
He knows what's up.
He knows how to party.
We got to ask him. I don't know if he can hear us or not, but when he comes back, we got to ask him about. I understand he was born in Houston, but I don't know. Do you know much about? Did he grow up in Texas at all, Charles?
I don't know. Let's ask him when he comes back.
We got to ask him. There he is. So I've got a question.
There he is.
I understand you were born in Houston.
Yes, sir.
How long did you live in Houston, or did you move as a kid, or?
Yeah, no, I didn't actually really live in Houston. I was born in Houston. I didn't live in Houston. Let's see. There is a Pasadena in Texas, which Californians don't understand because we have Pasadena out here too, and that's where I was a young child up until the point I was about in 3rd grade. Then we moved to a small town about halfway between Houston and Galveston called Dickinson, and that's where I grew up until I was 18. And when I was 18, I got in my car and sped out to Rick Baker's front door and knocked on his door, and he's like, "What the fuck? Who are you?"
Who are you?
That's pretty awesome.
So,
I saw you posted a picture earlier. You were saying nobody cares about your childhood, but you posted a picture on Instagram of yourself where you did a Wolfman makeup.
Oh God, no, that's right. No, that's actually a Mr. Hyde. That was the big.
Oh, Mr. Hyde. Okay.
It was the very beginning of my lifelong fascination with Mr. Hyde, and I did that same makeup probably 10 times, trying to make it better and better and better. Clearly, it looks like shit. I was a kid. Give me a break. But little would I know that I actually ended up doing one of the most bizarre, coolest Mr. Hydes ever for League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
From doing that really shitty version on the 11-year-old me, I end up with this giant thing for Steve Norrington film.
You finally mastered it.
I did, but it's not true. It's not a true Mr. Hyde. My favorite Mr. Hyde makeup is actually what Dick Smith did on the Jack Palance TV version way back in the mid '70s. Have you ever seen that one?
Yes,
The
long
thing that's
time ago.
interesting about that makeup is that it actually follows Robert Louis Stevenson's story a little bit better because Dr. Jekyll is shy and he's not very handsome. But when he turns into Mr. Hyde, he's very outgoing and he actually gets more handsome. Unlike the Frederick March version, or the Spencer Tracy version, or so many other versions where they turn into monsters, which really wasn't the point in Stevenson's story. It's a great, great, great story if you read it, The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. The point was he just became more outgoing.
Right.
And he became, you know, well, he also liked to rape and murder hookers, but that's beside the point.
That's a good
That's
pastime.
just another thing that happens. That's a good
It's
pastime.
about as outgoing as it gets.
Yeah. Had you ever written anything before Rubberhead Volume 1? Or was that...
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes. You know, as a kid, I was probably more into my favorite authors than I was even into than I was into the classic Hammer and Universal monster movies. You know, I just devoured H.G. Wells and Jules Verne and Robert Louis Stevenson. That really set and the old Warren comics, Creepy and Eerie. That was the fuel that started the fire. That was the spark, absolutely. And so I always thought that writing is a more free form of art because, you know, it's just you. And when you write, you're the producer, you're the director, you're the casting agent, you're the production designer, you're everything. But when you're working on a movie, it's a very collaborative effort. And so it's not quite as free. So I started writing very, very seriously around 2005, 2006. First of all, started with short stories, all fiction. And then, I've written several novels, and none of them are published yet. Probably for good reason. Although I've got two that are amazing. But the publishing industry is weird. So every time I try to go out and get an agent for the past, 15 years after I did my first 2 or 3 fiction novels, people would say, wait a minute, you did Ghostbusters? Write about the film industry. And not only that, be very honest and write about the dirt. So all these agents and all these publishers kept saying, write about the movie industry and, we'll sell books. And guess what? They were right. But maybe on the heels of, because, like I said, the Rubberhead series is a little bit fictionalized because I did not carry around a pad and paper and write down everyone's quotes when they were talking. I have to re-envision the feeling and to do it in present tense. So it's slightly fictionalized. So.
Right.
But I actually love writing, although it's a very, very lonely job. But it's about as physically satisfying as anything you can do because it's really just you.
Yeah. Well, there's something I'm curious about. We've all, it's kind of like what I'm getting at is it's kind of like a guitarist or a musician. Everybody has their own style. So like you can tell without, seeing pictures or knowing who it is, you can tell a Hendrix lick from a Santana to, on and on and on. Where did your style is very unique too, and you can see it. Where do you think your influence came as far as artistic style?
Now, are you speaking about sculpture and makeup effects or about writing?
Sculpture and makeup effects, yes.
It mostly came from, if you take a look at my work, usually it's really overblown and quite often it's humorous and cartoony.
Exactly. I was going to say that, but I didn't want to. I was worried you might be offended if I said cartoony.
No, not at all. It comes from my love of Tex Avery cartoons. It comes from.
That's perfect.
Okay, books are key. I've just heard from the publisher. We're selling. Remember,
awesome.
Nice.
When this is over, no more 10%, no more signatures unless you meet me in person somewhere. So, darkinkbooks.com. You get 10% off, and it's signed Rubberhead 2, guys. So
it's a great deal for a book like that that's signed. Prices,
all the pictures and stories.
We're practically giving it away. It's ridiculous.
You're giving it away. You're giving away your autograph. But don't forget to use.
When Michael and I came up with this idea yesterday, when the publisher and I came up with this idea, I felt bad. I'm like, you're not going to make any money. So, you're giving them away.
You sound like a furniture salesman on TV. We're going crazy. It's so cheap. We're giving it away.
It's Rubberhead Volume 2.
Back to the question. Hey, you guys know Chet Zar, the dark artist? He painted this cover. I don't know if you can see it.
Oh.
It's a Jet Czar demon lighting Hollywood on fire gleefully.
He looks like he's been burned too, very badly.
So, in any case, I'll tell you another huge influence. You might think it would be, and it certainly is, Dick Smith and Rick Baker. But, if you look at both of their body of work, it's almost always ultra realistic, hyper realistic. And I am a little bit more influenced by Rob Bottin's insanity.
Oh my gosh.
On so many projects for so many years, I really was impressed with the fact that he would never stop. He would tear one sculpture up and do it again and again and again and again because he knew he could always do better and show, again, the audience something that they never could imagine themselves, which is our job. That's our job. You don't want to do a werewolf transformation the same way twice. You don't want to deteriorate a vampire the same way twice. You have to always excite yourself first because, God damn it, we live, breathe, eat, and sleep this stuff. So if we're excited about it, the audience is for sure going to be excited about it.
When you said Tex Avery, it all started to make sense to me. You can see
Same
that
here. It
Tex Avery style in so much that you do. Thank you for telling me that because I grew up idolizing effects people like yourself and like I said, Tom and Dick Smith and everybody. So you can, like I said, when you look at styles, you can tell, oh, that's a Steve Johnson or that's a Tom Savini or it's whatever. But man, Tex Avery, it's all there. It's so obvious now.
That's true.
Well, Slimer in particular, Tex could have animated that decades before.
Yeah. The long chin stuff and amazing.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
Slimer is just so happy.
I have to say, it's nice of you guys to say all this, but part of it comes from laziness. I mean, you can. I agree with you. You can see different artists' styles, different effects artist styles, and you just get caught up into something that works for you, and it's really hard to break that mold and try something completely different.
I see. But I love that everybody has their own style. I do want to remind everybody about the Rubberhead promotion at darkinkbooks.com. Use coupon code Rubberhead, get 10%, but only while we're live. And that depends on, I don't know, it looks like we've almost gone an hour, Steve. So we may be getting close to the end. So people need to get their orders in.
Get them while they're hot, kids.
One thing,
can people, do you have this set up so people can, so viewers can ask questions? Or does that work out?
We do. And there is actually a couple of questions.
Only two? I'm offended.
You're offended? Oh, there's more than one question. I'm just saying.
Yeah, there's two.
There's two, Lloyd.
Yeah, there's more.
What about, Lloyd?
Let's see. A question for Steve. What was it like to create Slimer to be based on the late John Belushi? Here we go. Slimer again.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what. You can pick up Rubberhead Volume 1 from darkinkbooks.com with 10% off. It was very difficult, but it tells the whole the Slimer. There's a whole photo essay about the creation of all the characters from Ghostbusters, but there's also a story that talks about how I created Slimer. And it was very, very difficult because Ghostbusters was the first project I did where I was the boss. I had always been working for Rob Bottin, for Rick Baker, for Dick Smith, for Greg Cannon. And so I didn't really know how the science of the business and the design approval aspects worked until I tried to design Slimer. And I must have gone through 10, 12 variations. And the last, make his nose bigger, make his nose smaller, put ears on him, take the ears off, make him more cartoony. He's too cartoony. Give him 13% more pathos. What does that mean? I don't know.
What does that mean?
And then finally, the night before we had the deadline was to actually mold the sculpture and have it approved, the executives came in and said, well, he doesn't look enough like John Belushi yet. We got to make him look like John Belushi. And I'm like, what? Where did this come from? And as it turns out, Dan Aykroyd and Harold Ramis wrote the script while Belushi was still alive. Belushi was meant to play the Venkman part. But then, of course, he had his untimely death. And so they wrote Slimer in as kind of an homage. And if you take a look at it, I mean, one of the ways we rehearsed Slimer's performance is to take a look at John Belushi's Bluto performance from Animal House. So Slimer is a ghost. He's John Belushi's ghost. That's the deal.
More
Well, I didn't
questions.
have time to make him look more like Slimer. I just told him I did. The next morning, I stayed up all night. I go, look, he looks more like Slimer, and we're all like, well, we got to mold this. Yeah, he does, doesn't he? Mold it.
Yep.
Chris Ayers asks, well, he states first, Doc Ock's arms still hold up. What was the process behind making those beauties?
Oh my God! I think we had over 200 MIT style actual real robotics. We're not talking for that film. We're not talking about fake cable controlled little smiles on an animatronic head. We're talking about real computer controlled actual robotics. It was insane. We had so long to make that stuff. We had over a year, and you don't get that amount of time anymore. And I think we had something like $5 million. But let me tell you that just figuring out which robot to use for which shot was incredibly difficult. And Sam Raimi was an absolute dream to work with because he wanted to push and push and push, just like Guillermo and just like Tim. He always wanted to use practical if he could get away with it, because his quote always was, "What would the kids prefer? They want the puppets." And so, yeah, it was a very, very difficult. I mean, you can imagine, you get a script like that, and we still don't know what, even though it was designed in the comics, they're fairly simple in the comics. And, we wanted to bring this into the third dimension. So you get the script and you don't know how the hell you're going to do it. You don't know what's going to be digital, what the thing looks like, how long the shoot's going to be, how long the arms are going to be. You don't know how to, but then the studio comes and they go, well, how much will this cost? It's like, but you give a firm bid, right? I got to tell them it's going to cost this much, months, maybe a year before we even start shooting. But we don't even know what we're building or what it looks like. But you got to give them a price, and that's a set price. You can't go over, right? You can go under, keep the money. But yeah, it's risky business, kids.
Sam's amazing.
I'm really pleased with the work we did, and it was it all starts from the top. Sam was just a wonderful man.
Yeah.
He did his first traditional horror convention appearance at our show last year, and he was just a joy. He was awesome.
Very awesome guy. Yeah.
He's like a kid himself, and I think that's why his films come off like they do, because he loves what he's doing.
Yeah, that whole scene with Doc Ock in the operating room was just so much.
It's so fantastic.
It's fantastic,
let
and it's.
Let me tell you what's interesting. I was saying, we don't know how we're going to do, what we're going to make, and blah blah blah. What Sam came up with, which was a genius idea, is that was the first. We shot that scene before principal photography had even started. So we kicked ass, and Sam's goal on that, he goes, I don't want to use a single digital shot in the scene. What we're going to do is, as a test to see how far you can go with your robotics, Steve, let's just kick ass, make all of these robotics, I'll storyboard the sequence for you, and let's shoot the entire thing practically. So that'll give me an idea of what's possible. It'll give the director of photography, the producers, an idea of how long it'll take to shoot this stuff. Every single shot in that scene is practical.
Wow.
I didn't know that. That's such a terrifying scene too. It's so Sam Raimi, that scene.
It's so fun.
It's so great.
I love it.
It feels like it should be part of the Evil Dead too. It's just the way it's shot is fantastic.
God, it does. Like an idiot, I'll never forget the first day of being on the operating room set, because I had been in Las Vegas that previous weekend. We had an early call to shoot the first day of that scene on Monday, and I missed my flight, and some of the people I came with had driven. So I actually had to ride in the back of their car with a massive hangover and be driven straight to the Sony lot. That it was like, oh my God, why did I do that? The worst day, the worst weekend possible to go to Vegas. The scene worked, so hey, there you go.
It works great.
Yep.
We have opened the floodgates. There's a ton of questions. Let's see.
We can go a little bit longer, because this will give people a little bit longer to go to darkinkbooks.com and get 10% off all things Rubberhead.
With Code Rubberhead, yes. Do it.
Let's get some good. Let's get some good non-Ghostbusters questions, Lloyd.
Yeah.
No Ghostbusters.
So there's a couple of in this realm. AM Effects 505 asks, I will ask a question. What are your hopes and words of advice for up and coming artists? I know you and other artists like Eddie Yang say digital is the future. Do you hope that newer artists won't be as afraid of digital like some older artists are?
Well, that's a good question. Look, I feel like digital technology, no matter, yes, there's a huge resurgence and nostalgia for practical makeup effects right now, for handmade creations. However, digital technology is growing exponentially, and what that means is it's almost impossible for the human brain to comprehend. Well, you take the number 1, you double it, it's 2, then it's 4, then it's 8, then it's 16, 32, 64, 128. And so every day, digital technology. So we don't know. Yes, people say Uncanny Valley, you're never going to make it totally real. I disagree with that because we don't know how far and how quickly the stuff is going to progress. And, it's not a matter of is it cheaper? It's not a matter of is it better? Digital technology is the vein through which the future of technology and entertainment is going to flow. I guarantee you that now. I mean, look at the kinetoscope. The first way we would do movies, you'd have to go into this county fair and crank this thing and look at this thing Edison made, and it was maybe a horse running, and it delighted people and amazed them. Before that, they had something called a magic lantern, and all that was in the late 18th century was a candle and a glass frame and a lens, and you would slide a painting on this glass frame back and forth, and you'd see like a wolf that would open his mouth and it would project on the wall, and people were delighted for hours by this. That was entertainment. A little over 100 years ago, right? So how can you possibly even begin to imagine what entertainment is going to be in 30, 50, 100, 1,000 years from now? But I guarantee you it's going to be immersive, just like take a look at this Oculus stuff. The virtual reality is getting better and better and better. So I think in the next few decades, people are going to look back at what, we stare at a rectangular screen for entertainment now with glowing lights on it. And people are going to look at that like the magic lantern or the kinetoscope in a short 50 years, because we will be in a fully immersive world that we can feel, that we can smell, that we can touch, and we can be an eagle if we want to. We can be anybody we want to, anything we want to, and actually affect the outcome. We'll be able to go into different worlds. So, yeah, digital technology is going to go places we can't even begin to imagine. Did I even answer that question? I forgot the question.
Do you hope that newer artists won't be as afraid of digital like some older artists are?
They're not. I mean, the fact is, you can design in virtual reality right now. The Oculus has a program where you can actually sculpt. You can sculpt in 3D, and you're right there with it, and it's as if you had a lump of clay, except you're sculpting in a digital world. Of course, we all know about ZBrush. ZBrush is an amazing tool, and most things are being designed in ZBrush right now. It's a computer program for 3D modeling. And you never have to go to clay, you never have to go to a mold, you never have to go to sculpture. A 3D printer will print it out. It's the future, and you can't be afraid of the future. You have to embrace it. And yeah, there are the older generation of effects people. Some people are, a little afraid of it, but it's already here. There's nothing to be afraid of. It's already here.
Well, it's like AI. When you blend AI and all of this, boy, it's really going to take off. I've been amazed at I don't know what they call it, but it's where they can make your face look like somebody else's face on camera. And
it's called deepfake technology. And
deepfake, that's right.
There are apps. You can do it on apps right now.
It's amazing.
All my friends are, putting their faces beautifully, pretty well done in most cases, onto, superheroes and characters from movies. And it's just like, a 12-year-old kid with an iPad can do really amazing effects now.
Yeah,
it's crazy, right? The way this is changed the last few years. Like you were saying, there's no telling what it's going to be like another 30 years. There'll be whole actors will be, completely sculpted, and nobody will be able to tell the difference. So it's crazy.
I think it's alien technology. I watched too much.
It's aliens.
Ancient aliens. It's definitely alien technology. It's aliens.
Superman.
It's really, really, really exciting, actually, because again, the exponential nature of technological progress is something that we can't even begin to. I mean, think about it this way: if you, let's say, 1920, a guy wearing a tuxedo, top hat, he goes into a theater. If you showed him even the original Jurassic Park, he'd probably have a heart attack. He'd walk screaming from the theater, thinking it was real,
Yeah.
And that was just 100 years ago. And if you throw into the mix exponential progress, 100 years from now, what will entertainment look like? It would give us a heart attack. We'd run screaming from wherever it's being downloaded into.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
I want to thank Todd Seeley and Eludi Ottobal. They both ordered your books. Eludi says, Steve, both books have been purchased. You rock.
Excellent.
There you go.
More questions. Donna Marie Sluds says, hey, Steve, thank you for being an inspiration. Will you be coming back to Ireland to do any more courses? Loved the last one.
The last one. Donna Marie who?
Donna Marie Sluds, Sludds.
I hope so. I was lucky enough to work with a company that, everybody wants to go to Ireland, right? I mean, Ireland is like this mythical, wonderful place. And I'd always wanted to go, and I'd never been. And about 4 years ago, I got involved with a company that brought me over there occasionally. And I went 4 or 5 times to teach hands-on prosthetic creation, character creation, blood and gore gags. So fun. I love that country. I love the people. I know my way around Dublin at this point. It's actually like a home away from home, and it's just a wonderful place. And I would love to, but Jesus Christ, all my gigs got canceled because of guess what?
Yeah.
For now, for the moment.
For now.
Yeah.
Donna also just posted, I'm Michael Bloke's wife. He modeled you in the fab
Donna,
green mask you made.
Cloak is her last name. Cloke. What are you calling it?
Her screen name is Donna Marie Sluds.
Oh, well, of course I know. Their whole family is wonderful. I did an ogre makeup on Michael, her husband. Yeah, and in one of his classes in Dublin, and their family is very musical. They post videos all the time of them singing and playing music, and it's really fun in the lovely rolling green hills of the Emerald Isle.
That sounds wonderful.
So hi Donna, hi Michael.
Pantomorphic Pictures asks, what was the most difficult project you've worked on, and what made it so difficult?
Sometimes I feel like Donald Trump because I do a lot of interviews. With all the Blu-rays coming out and Scream Factory stuff and things like this, promotional things, and a lot of times the same questions come up. And when Donald Trump, people say, well, you didn't handle the pandemic well. He goes, well, the ventilators. We started sending ventilators all over where they need them. And one death would be 2. He says the same thing over and over, as if no one has heard these before. So when people ask, what was your favorite character? It has to be Slimer from Ghostbusters. And then they ask this question. And I feel like people have already heard the answer. It was the Abyss. It was working with the Marquis de Sade of Hollywood, James Cameron, creating those. They weren't aliens, they were non-terrestrial intelligences. If you called them aliens on set, you were booted off by Mr. Cameron himself. It was really hard. I mean, come on. We had no digital fallback at that point, and we were all early 20-somethings, just a bunch of kids in a sweatshop in Sun Valley. And Jim's saying, I want these things glass clear. I want them to light up like a goddamn, and change color like a goddamn Las Vegas casino sign. And I want to shoot them underwater, and there's 12 of them at once. Can you do it? And I'm like, yeah. It was James Cameron, right? I got to say yes. I didn't know if I could do it or not. And I knew that if I didn't, because nothing worked for months and months and months, and I knew that if I didn't commit suicide myself, Jim would kill me, so there would be no way out. So we basically had to figure it out.
Right.
So that was a really, really tough one. But, all's well that ends well. And in Jim's defense, he is one of the greatest directors I've ever worked with. I'm not saying this because of his films. I'm saying it because he, instead of throwing up his arms in frustration when we were having all these issues, he came in and rolled up his sleeves and helped us figure it out, because he's really, clearly, he's a super genius. And if anybody else would have directed that film, it probably would have been a disaster regarding the aliens. But Jim, knew how he wanted to shoot them and helped us figure out how to deliver it in a way that he could shoot what he wanted, if that makes sense.
Yeah. On the flip side, which this is probably something you're never asked, Mike Wells asked, Steve, what is your all-time favorite creation that you've made over the years?
Was it Slimer?
Yeah, it's got to be Slimer.
No. It's not. I'm sick of Slimer. No, the thing is, I'm a maniac. Remember I told you earlier, I'm never satisfied, and it's always the next thing. That's the way I've always kept my work fresh, and I think I would hope I've always kept it interesting for audiences, is that I'm always looking to the next thing. I haven't made it yet.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good one.
Good answer. Todd Seeley, who bought your book just now, says, have you ever wanted to direct a film?
Great question.
Yes, no, of course. And I've had two options. My problem, and I've directed television, I've directed commercials, music videos, that kind of thing. And I really like it. It's in a lot of ways, it's fairly similar to directing a bunch of crazy people in an effects studio. You've got to be a very good communicator. You've got to have a clear vision. And you got to be on the ball. But the two movies that did not work out, one was The Howling. God, I worked on, unfortunately, every single Howling sequel there is, except for the marsupial one, the one they did in Australia, which I would have loved to work on. It's the most ridiculous concept ever. Werewolf kangaroos.
Yeah. I love it.
But I was offered the opportunity, I believe it was The Howling 5, to direct that. But ultimately I got really, really nervous about it because, you end up, and these days people are making amazing low-budget movies for $50,000. Really, I've seen some great movies. One like I Trapped the Devil, this amazing movie you guys should watch. Very simple, very straightforward. There's one called As Above, So Below. Very straightforward, really good movies. But back then I was used to working. Have you seen these movies?
Yes.
Yeah, those are great ones.
I have. The Devil was amazing. But in any case, back then I was working on $20-30 million movies, were like the highest budgeted movies back in the 80s. And so if somebody said, well, I'm going to give you 4 weeks and $1 million to shoot The Howling 5, I'm like, I'm going to look like an asshole. I can't do what I want. And so I ultimately backed out of that. And the other one was a really cool one that I actually co-wrote, or rewrote, I should say, which was called Pamela West. And it was a really cool take on The Wizard of Oz, but it was told through the eyes of the Wicked Witch of the West, as if she was the protagonist instead of the antagonist. And it went really well for a long, long period of time. And then, what was that Broadway play that came out? Wicked.
Wicked.
It would have looked like we ripped it off, so the movie got canceled.
Yeah. Let's ask at least one more question. There's several, but Lupina says, if you had to recommend one of the available effects schools, which one would you choose?
That is a really, really, really easy answer. The Stan Winston School of Character Arts. It's an online school, and the thing that's great about it, many great things about it, but it's carrying on Stan Winston's legacy. His son Matt Winston runs it, and it'll let you say you want to learn how to make a silicone mold. Well, all you got to do is type in silicone mold, and you not only have a step-by-step process. In some cases, these are split up in several lessons. Some of these lessons can be 12 hours and longer. But it's not only a step-by-step process, it tells you where to get the materials, how to do it, literally on video. You can do it at your leisure, but it's done by the best silicone mold maker in the industry. If you want to learn how to paint, you're taught by the best painters in the industry. If you want to learn how to sculpt, you're taught by the best sculptors, the best seamstresses, the best everything. It's really, really good. And you can buy one lesson at a time. You can subscribe to it. It's very inexpensive. And it's absolutely a genius setup. It really, really, really is, because I think it bridges that gap between having to, because I always, say teaching yourself is a great way to do it, because you learn from your mistakes, and there's no better way to learn than by making mistakes. So a lot of times I take issue with some of these schools that spoon feed you techniques when you go in person, and you don't learn to problem solve. You don't learn to think yourself. You learn from the instructor what his technique is. However, with the Stan Winston School, it rocks. It's really good. Now, I would have said the Dick Smith makeup correspondence class would have been the best way to learn before the Stan Winston thing came out. But the Stan Winston thing that's the one, kids. Stan Winston School of Character Arts.
Is that online? Is that
Yes,
an
it is.
online course?
Yeah, online.
Okay.
Yeah, so you do it all over the world.
That's
It's
fantastic.
awesome. So Rubberhead Volume 2, guys, and we ordered a couple copies on our side, and I actually want to give away a copy to our listeners. So,
Oh, cool.
Steve, do you have maybe a trivia question that maybe one of your fans would know the answer to out there that we can ask people?
Oh, do
What
I
do you
have a
think?
trivia question?
Yeah, what do you think? Something somebody would know. Maybe something we talked about on the show. See if somebody was listening.
God, those would be too easy. Trivia question.
Here we go.
Oh, that sounds good.
I've got an evil one. Does anybody out there know who truly designed, and never got credit for the Pumpkinhead character?
Oh,
Okay.
let's see who gets it.
I am
Nobody's-
watching.
Nobody's going to know the answer to that.
Everybody's trying to Google right now. They're like, wait.
No, it's going to be tough. That one's not fair. That one's mean. Let me think of an easier one.
So
I can answer it, but it'll take another hour.
the first answer is Stan Winston. That's the first one that popped up.
No, of course not. I would not ask such an obvious.
Todd Lewis says, no idea, I lose.
Yes, I do.
Chris Ayers says, you, question mark.
Yes, good, Chris. You got a free book. No,
There you
you
go.
got a question mark. You got a question mark. It's disqualified. No, what happened is, on my horrible Predator experience, yes, we had the head extended, we had the arms extended, we had the legs extended, and we flew Jean-Claude Van Damme on an overhead gantry rig between two planes because he couldn't walk on his back open legs, with a wire coming out of a flying harness. We were fired for myriad reasons. You can read the story in Rubberhead 2. Get it at darkinkbooks.com, 10% off, and it's signed for the next few minutes anyway. But you can read that full story. But production, after we were fired by making what the design they shoved down our throat, because it was so time-consuming to shoot, he was basically flying on a rig like Superman. They sent our suit over to Stan, who got the job ultimately to make the Predator. And the very next job that Stan Winston got after finishing Predator was Pumpkinhead. And my God, it's the exact silhouette, and it operates exactly the same as my Predator. So I look like an asshole for getting fired off Predator, and Stan gets accolades for years for making this amazing Pumpkinhead thing that is, in effect, my Predator.
That's
You know what?
fantastic.
All's fair in love and effects. So, can't lose
Chris Ayers, make sure you message us on probably Facebook, or you can go to the website Frightmare HQ and you can click the contact button. We will need your address to get the book out that you just won.
Yep.
Nice one, Chris.
Congrats, Chris.
Congratulations. I also want to say thank you. Stephen Birch says, thank you, Steve. I ordered both books. Enjoy the rest of your day, everyone. So thank you guys for ordering the books. You can probably get an order in real quick if you just go to darkinkbooks.com. You get 10% off with code Rubberhead, and that's only while we're live here with Steve. As soon as Steve's camera goes dark, that's it.
It's over.
You're fucked.
And it's almost over, guys. Yep.
It's almost over. Charles, what else? Do you have any other questions for
Man,
Steve before we say goodbye? Or?
I am just very thankful, Steve, for you joining us. Love the book, so I'm looking forward to the next 3 volumes, and I'm looking forward to the documentary. So,
Excellent.
thank you again for all
It
your.
will be so great. The documentary. We won't be able to keep these books in stock once that documentary comes out. I'm telling you, it's turning out so well. The problem with it, which is always a good problem to have when you're trying to make a 90-minute documentary out of a 40-year career, is there's just too much good stuff.
Yeah.
Well, we do like that,
I'm looking forward to coming back to Texas Frightmare in person. Excuse me. Hello.
So
Yes.
are we. That was fantastic. We loved having you there. You were one of the guests that we'd always had a big request for from the attendees and the fans. They always love iconic effects people like yourself. And
Well, thank you for saying that. But I've been to many of these things, and that one actually really stands out with almost like a Monsterpalooza vibe. I just like the vibe, the people that were there, the guests that you had, the way it was set up, the respect for every aspect. This is just a really, really, really great convention.
oh, thank you very much. We're blessed to have so many great fans. What was that?
I do have to say though that being a Texan myself, I was offended it took you so long to invite me. God damn it!
Well, you guys are you effects guys are somewhat elusive. I never knew how to get a hold of you before that, and one of the booking agents came to me and said, "How about Steve Johnson?" And I was like, "What?" Yes, immediately.
Yeah, Sean Clark, I think.
Yes, and we've
Yeah.
always wanted. I would love to bring somebody like Rob Bottin and. Yeah, and just any of the greats, and so we want to say thank you. All hails to Steve Johnson.
No, it's a really
Steve.
fun convention. I can't wait to come back. It really is. I like to watch.
We appreciate you, and we appreciate the work. Thank you so much for joining us. And I guess the last thing I have to commend you for is the creepy work you did on D. Antwert's Pitbull Terrier video, because that was creepy, and I loved
You
it.
see that prison tattoo? Do you know what that is? That's the
Yep.
Pitbull. And,
Oh,
and
That's the
Ninja,
Pitbull.
Ninja in a drunken stupor, when we finished the video in Johannesburg in South Africa, he did this on me with the old prison style needle and ink.
Oh, that is awesome.
I was going to ask about your tattoo because I was like, that looks like the Pitbull Terrier, and I was like,
Oh,
that's.
you never would have gotten that. You know what it looks like? The thing is, it gave me, for a while, when they were really big, it gave me some street cred. I had a prison tattoo done by Ninja. But, I was standing in line at the grocery store. The old silver-haired woman behind me probably just thought I got out of prison. She's not street cred to her. It's just I've got this one really shitty tattoo.
Well, it
Is
was
that
done
your
by
only
Ninja.
tattoo?
And that's he's got other ones.
You
I
do
do
have
have-
other tattoos. Okay.
Yeah, I got this one done in Texas, actually.
I like that.
Yeah, that done in Austin.
But hey,
I-
he's the only one with a prison tattoo from Ninja. So there you go.
Well, no, I'm not. Ninja has them, and several of his other victims have them. I'm sure you've read the news.
I saw that band in concert in Texas a few years ago, and it's definitely they're an interesting group. So
Yeah, live. Their shows live are pretty energetic.
Have you ever seen the video that he does about going over to Kanye's house and having banana pudding?
yeah,
It's
Yes.
fantastic. I love it.
They ran back to South Africa with their tails between their legs. They moved to Los Angeles for a while, and they shot a couple of videos here and tried to get a television show off the ground. And things are so the South African way of doing business is so different than the Los Angeles Hollywood way of doing business that they moved to Cape Town, and that's where they're operating now.
I see.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
basically, they could take you to $10,000-$15,000 in Johannesburg and make a music video which was about actually I should say it was probably cost about $30,000 the Pitbull video, but that would have cost $120,000 easily in Los Angeles or more. So the music industry can't really afford these $1 million Madonna, Michael Jackson videos anymore. So
Yeah.
they went home.
Well, I'm reading some comments, and I know we said we were about to go, but this is a good one. Ask Steve to do his Michael Jackson impression. What is that all about?
Oh no, Steve.
Well, I wish you'd asked me to do my Sergeant Lincoln Osiris impression. That one is more fun. My Michael Jackson impression is the same as everybody else's. I just can't imagine. Steve, you smoke. I just can't imagine. It's the same as everything. But my Sergeant Lincoln Osiris, Robert Downey Jr. from Tropic Thunder. I bet I could call up some of them greens, noodle up some crawfish after patty now. Maybe some crab apples for dessert.
That's pretty good.
Justin Hoffman,
Yeah.
Rain Man, count on numbers. And he started autistic, maybe. Charm the Pants Off Nixon won a ping pong championship.
Okay. We'll have to have you back
Oh, that's
on
great.
sometime, and we'll just do the Steve Johnson impression special.
I did, actually. You can YouTube Steve Johnson, Sergeant Lincoln Osiris. You can search it on YouTube. And a makeup artist named Ian Von Cromer got a hold of a real set of the Rick Baker appliances for Robert Downey Jr. because he's wearing just very subtle makeup. Little nose to broaden the nose, little tips on both sides, and a lower lip, and that's it. The rest of it was paint and hair work. And this guy put me in the real appliances, because some people say I look a little bit like Robert Downey Jr. Put me in the Sergeant
I
Lincoln
see that.
makeup. Have you seen it?
No, I'm saying I see that in you, the Robert Downey. I can see
Yeah.
that.
So we filmed a piece, and it's on YouTube. Just if you Google Lincoln Osiris, Steve Johnson, it'll come right up, and it's really fucking funny.
Well, there you go.
It's
We'll
not
have to play that at some point.
politically correct anymore, though.
Well, you're getting a lot of praise. You're getting a lot of praise. Todd Seeley says, all in caps, Steve Johnson, you're a rock star. Thank you for so much movie magic through the years. Roxy Horror says, did we say you're the best, Steve? Because that just nailed it. And
What
David,
nailed it?
yeah,
What, my Michael Jackson impersonation or Robert Downey Jr.?
both of them, I'm
Both.
guessing. And then
Both.
David Dugas said just ordered a copy of Volume 2. So you guys keep ordering. Hey, we can
Yeah.
we'll stay on here until midnight if people keep ordering books.
Well, I mean,
We'll just keep going.
You can still order the goddamn books after this. You just don't get the 10%.
Yeah,
You
But
don't
still,
get the
if you order,
10%.
no. What the people need to know is if you still, I mean, if people are waiting for an unemployment check or whatever right now, you can still order the book off darkinkbooks.com without the 10% off. But the difference between ordering it from Dark Ink and Amazon is it'll be signed from Dark Ink.
Perfect.
That's true.
You can
Well,
still order,
guys,
but-
Steve's got to get to the beach, guys. Steve's going to Malibu, so
10%, yeah.
There you go. Well, Steve, thank you for joining us today. It's
Yes,
been an
thank you for
honor
having me.
and a privilege.
yeah, very much.
Loads of fun. Thank you guys so much.
Well, enjoy Malibu for us, and I don't know, take a
Yep.
picture or something.
I will. And
Yeah.
everybody out there, stay safe. Oh, sorry. I thought that was the publisher saying, we sold out.
We can only
That's what we're
hope.
hoping for.
I'm sorry?
I said we can only hope.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, cool. Well, it was great talking to you guys. Stay in touch.
Same with you, Steve.
Yeah.
Thank you for the promo. I appreciate it. And thank you to all the fans out there. You're not going to be disappointed at all with what you find in the Rubberhead series. It's really loads of fun.
Awesome.
Very true.
Okay. Have
Thank
a
you
great
again.
day, Steve, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right, you guys. Have a great day yourselves.
All right. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.
That's so great to talk to him. He's just one of those guys. Everybody knows he's done so much. It's like, well, what do you ask him about? Because it's just a long laundry list of awesomeness.
That went very quick. We've been on an hour and a half with Steve. And
So many stories, though.
so many stories. It went so fast. I always feel bad because I could talk to them forever, or guests like this, Steve, forever. But we don't want to keep him from Malibu for too
Beach.
long. Yeah, I want to thank
Malibu,
everybody that ordered the book from him today as well.
Yeah, thanks,
Thank you
everybody.
so much. It's always great to support the people that we've looked up to for years and years and years, and this is one of them. He's a legend, man. He is a legend.
He is a legend. It was crazy to see his D Antwoord tattoo
Yeah.
from Ninja, because I was trying to work in talking to him about the Pitbull Terrier video, because if you guys, a lot of people don't like the N word. It's an interesting type of music, but if you
I
want to
do. I like
watch
them
the video, I like them too because they're freaking crazy. And even if you don't like the music, their videos are insane. Their videos are worth watching.
I
And
just like anything.
the Pitbull Terry one is, yeah. Well, I saw them play in Dallas a few years ago, and it's an energetic show.
Oh, I can bet.
The Pitbull Terry video is just creepy because, like he said, it's creepy, but it's like subtly realistic. He has like this dog face on it, the whole thing, and I watched that video without knowing it was Steve Johnson, and afterwards I was like, "Well, of course it is," because it's totally his makeup effects.
Right. And that is so true about his effects. They have their own style, and you can, when you see a Steve Johnson makeup effects, or you know it's Steve Johnson.
Very true. Well, thanks to everybody though for joining us. It was a great show. This is like the longest we've ever talked to anybody who's came on, and it's just there's so much we could talk about. Like he says, he's got 5 books. The first 2 are coming out, but they're all full of stories, like he's talking about. I mean, there's so much in there about all these movies.
Yeah, there were so many questions too, which was amazing because we don't always have a lot of questions. A lot of people like to tune in and watch, and that's cool, but this is definitely the guest that we've had the most questions from fans. And there were a bunch of you that I wasn't able to get to, but thank you so much for asking the questions. And Todd Lewis just posted there is only 1,000 of the limited edition, so make sure you get one of those. That book's going to be worth more than it's selling for. I'll tell you that much. And it's worth. I think it's worth that with his autograph. Period. So make sure you get on top of that and order it.
And if you guys, if you have the means, I'd recommend getting the first one too. Like he said, Rubberhead Volume 1 did sell out, and they are reprinting it, and it'll probably sell out again. The fact that they're signed by Steve, it's a fun book. He talks about Ghostbusters in that one a lot for the Ghostbusters fans. So really, jump in there and grab that one too.
Yeah, I know a lot of people bought them directly from him at the convention in 2017 when he came. So that was pretty awesome.
And congrats to Chris Ayers again for winning the copy. So we'll make sure to get that out to you. As you know, it's pre-order right now, but we'll get it out to you when it's out. So don't worry.
Exactly. Yeah, and make sure you do, Chris. Message us so we can get your address. Otherwise, we have no way of knowing how to get this to you.
That happens sometimes. People don't message us, and me and Lloyd have to go find them.
We give away stuff.
Where are you?
People they're like, I didn't want it anyway.
Like, we don't care if you didn't want it. We're going to send it to you. We're going to find your address.
John
that was a great time, though.
Yeah, John Tarani says we love effects guys. Always excited to hear them talk. Chris Ayers said, Steve never having been nominated makes no sense to me. Yes, absolutely.
Yep.
Leif Jonker said, you should have gotten an Oscar for The Abyss, Steve. Thanks for all your wonderful work. Just so much love. We didn't talk about Bicentennial Man either, which is something else to get to.
There's so much he did. Like I say, I love Bicentennial Man.
I think we did talk about it briefly, didn't we?
Briefly. He pulled a picture up, but I mean, he did these amazing, like, sculpted faces of Robin Williams and like animatronics, and it's so great to see.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Charles. Well, let's let everybody know what we've got coming up before we leave. What's the first thing we got coming up?
Well, tonight we have our weekly Twitch Prime watch party where me and Lloyd get on, watch a movie with somebody, and this week it's Matt Orsman, known as Mirthquake, actually on a Frightmare Weekend artist, done some stuff for Frightmare.
He's done a lot of stuff for
watching, so we're watching Bad Taste. He'll join in. Bad Taste, you have to be an Amazon Prime and Twitch. So you sign in through Twitch and then Amazon Prime, and we watch the movie together while me and Lloyd slowly drink too much and say random things.
And it's gonna be fun tonight. We've got Peter Jackson's Bad Taste, which is a movie that has one scene in it that totally grosses me out every time. I
I know
avoid
it
that
does.
movie as much as possible because of that one scene, the puke scene. If everybody knows,
I've been wanting to
what I'm talking
reenact it for you every show. I want to reenact it for Lloyd.
about. Yeah, well, I don't know if I'll be able to watch it, but I'll try tonight. And but it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yep.
Matt Orsman, of course, is our guest host tonight, and Matt's done something cool. He's putting together a brief trailer reel that we can watch. It's going to be 2 or 3 minutes long, so we can watch it before the movie starts and kind of get in the mood. I think that's going to be kind of
I
fun.
like it. And tomorrow we'll actually be back on again because me and Lloyd love to just talk about movies. So what are we doing tomorrow?
Tomorrow we've got The Year in Horror, 1973.
Tomorrow? No, tomorrow's...
Oh, not tomorrow. I'm sorry. Sunday. I skipped. Sunday. We're going to talk
That's
about
tomorrow.
video nasties with Arrow
Yeah.
Video. That's Mike Hewitt, the head of sales and marketing, right? That's Mike Hewitt from Arrow Video. He's going to join us, and he's from England, so he has a lot of knowledge about that period in their video history of video nasties.
Yeah.
So that's going to be fun to get his insight.
Yeah, that's part of why me and Lloyd like to do these shows is to not only talk about horror, but maybe educate horror on some stuff that maybe some people don't know a lot about. That's why we want to do Video Nasties, because it's an interesting time in British history. As I was thinking about doing this, I was like, really can't do it unless we have somebody from that period or that area, and that's Arrow Video. They're based outside of London, and I was like, Mike Hewitt's got to come on, and it can really help us talk about it. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
And, this is a subject that I just have limited knowledge on myself, so I'm going to be looking forward to learning a little bit on the video nasty period, too, so looking forward to it. And then our next thing is Tuesday. Normally we do a Wednesday show, and we cover 1 year in horror, and I've already let the cat out of the bag, but it is 1973 this coming Tuesday.
Yeah. 1973. We're moving it up one day because we're moving it up one day this week. Keeping everybody on their toes.
Yeah, just to let you know. And I think that's it until tonight. Anything else, Charles?
That's all I got. I'm just, I was real excited to talk to Steve. Like you said, the time flew by. I mean, over an hour and a half almost talking to him. So I feel like we could have talked to him another hour and a half.
Oh,
like you said, we didn't talk about a lot of movies. We didn't talk about Species either, which is a great effects he did. There's just so much he's done.
There's no way you can cover it, but that's why you need to buy the books. Volume 1, Rubberhead.
Yep.
Rubberhead Volume 2 is on pre-order right now. And go to darkinkbooks.com and go ahead and order the book. Might as well. I mean, maybe you can sneak in. I don't know. Maybe they'll let you sneak that code in. I'm not sure, but go ahead and try it.
The sneakies.
The code, by the way, is Rubberhead to get 10% off the book. Is what I'm thinking.
I thought you said I dropped my Coke. I was like, okay.
Oh no. I said maybe you can try the Coke, try the code. So I don't know if it'll work, but you might try it. Rubberhead, Volume 2.
Rubberhead was the code.
Yeah, and Rubberhead.
But even
code.
Yeah, getting like you said, those are the ones that are autographs. So getting them autographs is cool because there's going to be a limited number autographed, and really the autograph's an added bonus on there. It's basically the same price as getting one not autographed. So go and get your one.
Even if
something great to have in your collection. I mean, I'm a person who loves autographed books, and this is a great one to have. Great one to add.
Definitely.
So many stories.
Well, all right, guys. We have been on quite a while, so Charles, unless you have something else, I think it's time to say goodbye.
And say goodbye for a few hours, and that's it. I'm happy, though. Happy everybody was here. Thank you, everybody, again.
Absolutely. Thank you all for joining us. You've been watching Frightmare HQ. My name is Lloyd Cryer, and I am here with...
It is Charles Doze or Carlos Blueberry.
And we're signing off. We'll see you tonight on Twitch. Have a good day.
Bye, everybody. Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye.